Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present my work here. I'm Karina Abdala from Uruguay. I'm a PhD student of the Semiotics and Media at the University of Turin. I'm a PhD student also in Information and Communication of the University of Lille. My tutors are Massimo Leone and Simona Stano from Turin, and Simona Di Giulio from the University of Lille. And I will now present my work. The title is Taste Experience and Artificial Intelligence. Okay. Here? No. Okay, and the objects of my work are to understand the change that happen in the taste experience when artificial intelligence intervenes, to understand from the semiotic point of view the meaning and significance of taste experience, to understand the main question implied for the human by the definition and use of artificial intelligence. Regarding to the methodology of my work, okay. To conduct my doctorate study, I focus on a qualitative methodology. In order to understand the main change in the field of gastronomy and artificial intelligence, conduct interview with the main social actor involved, chef working with AI, engineer working with AI applied to gastronomy. Therefore, my methodology is based on the sociosemiotics in order to understand the internal aspect of the phenomenon. To start with this, it is necessary to define the taste experience. The taste experience is defined by several theories as a synesthetic sensory aspect, Bianciardi, to imply that all senses are present in the tasting. This means that when analyze the taste experience, all these senses, visual, auditory, tactile, taste, and olfactive, must be taken into the consideration. This means that when the methodology of sociosemiotic is capable to understand of analysis of the sense from the point of view of perception, for which I bases on the Greiman semiotics, visual semiotics. Sorry. As far as the other sense and the notion of experience are concerned, I basis on the semiotic triadic tradition of Peirce. The theory allows me to establish a continuum between the firstness is the sensation that are generated at the moment of testing dishes up to the tierceness that imply the categorization of that which is tasted. It's moved from the sensation to the symbolic aspect. Therefore, this theory also makes it possible to establish this continuity between the individual aspects of the subject, individual sensation when testing, and the social cultural aspect that implies, for example, a good taste, Bourdieu. Another factor to take into the consideration when analyze the taste experience is the context in which the tasting takes place. This aspect is emphasized by Bourdieu, as he established how being at the table conditions the taste memory and therefore its sensory perception. With regard to the interview with the chef, several of them highlight the usage of storytelling to affect the perception of dish at the time of tasting. For example, we are today faced with the storytelling to create of dishes by AI. On the other hand, there is a need to define the artificial intelligence. With artificial intelligence, we find two perspectives. One marked by explaining how it works on basis of the human truth system, such as FUMO, who explained the algorithm as a neuron. On the other hand, there are questions such as Christianini criticizing the denomination of intelligence, since this generates as confusion as the moment of understanding its function and assimilate it's a human being. Therefore, the analysis of AI requires different perspectives such as philosophic, engineer, communication, and ethics. Authors such as Fry mentioned the problem that exists with AI due to the autonomy that human provided. The solution proposed is AI should be given several results and that the human being should be able to choose one of them so as not generate errors. All this produced by the myth that the machine does not make mistakes, but the database can have human errors, which can then be based on the result of AI. Another problem raised by Parisi, it is the question of the body. It's proposed that the human perception depends on our body. Therefore, AI must be provided with a body that simulates the human being in order to have an approach to perception. For example, there is a case of the electron nose, which detects the chemical compound. In this case, in order to explain the function of AI and to understand it, it must study an anthropomorphization appears. There, I will present some of case study where AI and gastronomy are combined. For example, according to Dulcea, Fuentes, and Gonzalez, there are visual recognition AI systems that detects the taste of beer based on their color. Combined, they use this to detect which type of beer will be the most accepted by the public based on the user photos with their favorite beer. Another case is the Markovich and Robinson, who created the first recipe created by AI, where both engineers mixed the ingredients of cake and cookies, creating a hybrid that mixed 50% of both texture. But what is important to know in this case is that they are both American and they are made the video at the Christmas time. Therefore, the geography, location, and the time of Hollywood are important cultural elements that determine the creation of the recipe. Here you can see the experiment where they shape the form of the cookie and inside the taste of the cake, and here the opposite. Another important case of study can be found on the University of Cambridge, where Sokaki, Abdullah, Husseini, and Lydia, who start to conduct experiments with robots capable of cooking. To do so, they rely on video where the AI robot learn parameters and movements to replicate recipes. They are also experimenting with the taste and robot with the aim of creating new tastes in the future. So the first video, I'm sorry for this. The Cambridge, no, the other one. Another one.
I need to move this. How do I move
What are
this?
you trying to do?
I'm trying to play this. Sorry.
Okay, is this another case?
If you share the screen, it'll play the music. The audio will run through that Zoom.
I did, but I'm trying to open a web tab. I don't know.
You find it.
Yeah.
It's Cambridge.
Yeah, it is.
Do it at the
Okay.
top of the browser, press plus. You see that plus at the top? I can help. I mean, I've got a lot of my things open here too. Then do you see the plus at the?
Yep, I got it. I just need to get back to
Yeah.
Zoom. Sorry.
And then you share
No,
screen.
Thank you. Okay.
And the next one.
And the slide. The slide again, and then so I'm sorry.
Now, let me just switch it because I can't see the tabs
Okay.
when I share.
This thing.
Yep. Yep. Thank you. So,
Okay.
is this right? Sorry.
No, then. Okay. On the other hand, we have the case of flavor graph. It's one of the important case created by the University of Korea and Sony, based on the digitalized chemical composites on the ingredients. This application is able to detect new combinations that have not yet been realized. It is important to think about how the database is being constructed in order to create these missing possibilities. And then you can see the flavor map, and we have the component chemical and the ingredient and the possible combination of the ingredient created by AI. Then you can see the video.
We have your fingertips. By developing groundbreaking AI, Sony AI will harness this data to inspire the artistic, iterative, and multidisciplinary recipe creation process. We want to use AI to complement your knowledge and experience to help delight your eaters. We are envisioning an AI-enabled application that will give you a variety of routes into every new creation. You might begin with specific ingredient in mind. AI can help you explore intriguing pairings based on a range of gastronomical data points. While pairing ingredients, you might want to adjust based on a range of attributes like texture and flavor profile. This allows you to refine your creative vision as you zero in on 4 ingredients for a dish. As you build and iterate dishes with your team, influence might come from anywhere. We're developing novel AI that takes abstract inputs like music, art, sound, color, and translates them into ingredients. Constraints in gastronomy are also driving new creativity. We're growing the ability to tailor recipes to the eater. This lets us address areas beyond taste, like health, to build flexibility around dietary requirements, wellness, medicine, and nutritional impact. As well as tailoring dishes to the eater, understanding how what we create impacts the planet is a huge opportunity. With growing access to environmental data like carbon footprint, water usage, and seasonal and regional availability, we are more able than ever to pursue sustainable gastronomy. This will be an intelligent, interactive space to help unleash imagination and creativity around recipe design. Sony AI is drawing together data and insights from across the industry to empower chefs around the world and build the future of gastronomy with you.
Okay, on the other hand, it is important to analyze how the application is presented to the public. So, in this case, in Flavor Graph, the Sony site features an interview with Chef Shoneda, who gave his recipes for creating the database. The interview is divided into the three parts. The first of which focus on the sentimental, trying to unite the AI with the feeling of cooking. And then comes the search for perception by cutting exactly ingredients. And finally, a conception of democratization thanks to the application. Everyone can cook like a chef. And then you can see the image they chose to make the AI sentimentally close to the kitchen. They also use a play words because in Japanese AI means love. So use this for presented to the public. And to conclude my presentation, I'm sorry. Yeah. To conclude my presentation, I would like to point out that to analyze the phenomenon, we must take into account all the senses involved in the tasting experience, as well as the storytelling that predispose the tasting. The sociosemiotics allows me to analyze the sense and meaning of this new practice, giving an inside view of the phenomenon thanks to the interview. And we are currently in the phase of creating the database, and we find an media discourses which try to unite and resolve three elements: the emotion, perfection, and democratization. For example, improving the environment. And here you can see my reference that I use for doing the presentation. And thank you much.
Yeah. Let's see.
Thank you very much. I just have a few kind of small questions. And firstly, I wonder what brought you to this topic. Is it an interest in food or in AI or in both? And secondly, do you see, because I wasn't quite sure, are you working on the end Sony product or are you analyzing it? And therefore, is your research kind of political or even, you know, analytical, political, or is it applicable, i.e. you're kind of working on this for industry?
Okay, thank you. In my career, I fascinated with the gastronomy because I do a master in anthropology. So I interest in the representation of identity of the country with the gastronomy. And then I do the pass with the AI. And for me, it's important to know how to select the database because the fact of the cultural fact and the country are more interested for do this. And when I start to my PhD, there are no case of this. It's like more abstract concept, and then appear flavor graph, gastrograph, Euroalimentaire in France. And that select both application and this case. And the other case with the interview is ChatGPT. More chef using ChatGPT for a new creation the recipes. So every time that I do an interview, I find new application and new models to apply the artificial intelligence and gastronomy. So I don't know if I reflect.
Yeah, I think so. So am I right in thinking then that in your work you want to kind of democratize or actually encourage the AI to be, you know, not just like one perspective, but really like, you know, anthropologically relevant? Is that kind of it? Like,
yeah, for me, the question is the marketing of the public is like flavor graph are democratization and have this possibility that everyone can cook with a chef. But in really, it's not possible to do this because and in every country change the ingredients, change everything, the taste experience. So I feel that I want to do analysis of these discourses to understand and to emphasize the cultural aspect of these cases. That. Thank you.
I'm very curious about this whole project. I never really thought about taste like this before, but even watching the Sony AI video, I'm kind of unsettled. Like there's something like weird about this, kind of invasive. And so I'm curious like how a tool like this would evolve human taste like in the long run. So if, for example, we are catering food to everyone's like preferences or taste profiles, how does that affect humans in the long term, like biologically, if we're always like eating things that we like? So I'm curious, like, yeah, if you have a perspective on this.
As me. No, because I have the idea to do focus group with the person that taste new dishes with artificial intelligence, but now it's not possible. Now that I found in the moment that create the database and the input that the ChatGPT chef do the working for the future, create these things, and I think it's more interesting understand to happen with this experience and in this case. So I am interested in these things, but now now I found this we have in the project with the database to create this dishes. So you are in the step before that.
Got it.
Yeah,
Cool.
thank you.
Yeah.
I think we also think about computers and like digital artificial intelligence as though they're rarefied, mathematically determined engines that have no access to embodied sensation. And taste is perhaps the last of the embodied sensations, because in the history of philosophy, often there's a ranking of senses. So people say sight is the first sense, hearing is the second sense, and then touch is third, and maybe smell is third. And smell is third because it's more, you might say, extensive. But taste is usually the last, because taste only happens in your mouth rather than being. So taste seems to be like the most animal of all sensations. And in this sense, we assume that that's the farthest removed from computers. So I suppose I have two questions. One is, are people often shocked to learn that computers can design recipes, or that they can respond to the multiple sensory modalities of taste? On the other hand, is there a sense in which we can say that if even taste is accessible to the computational algorithms of computers, then all the senses can be analyzed and computed in various ways? And are we trying to apprehend then a kind of the inner mathematical algebra of our sensory modalities as a whole? And if so, is this a way of sort of rethinking the calculative or the logical basis of sensation, such that there's no ultimate separation between the form of thought and the material encounter we have with the senses of the world?
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, the first question is about, the first question is about the translate the I find when the artificial intelligence, the most too easy to translate is the visual semiotics. Because the visual semiotics, no, the visual sense, because every dishes can be translated in the mathematical for the visual. So we found these things, but then I found the electronic notes for the olfactive sense and the other sense, and yeah, it's complicated to understand how the computer make the dishes without testing something. So this is translation is more complicated to do for the mathematical language and the sense language and the perception language is so, yeah.
And the reason I ask is, and for a little bit more time, I want to get that. Oftentimes people assume that we have kind of primitive access to the qualitative experiences. Sometimes people call this qualia, and they will say that computers don't have such access because computers operate as it were based on this algebraic programming language of mechanics that doesn't have any sensory inputs. So computers don't have tongues, they don't taste.
Yeah.
So how is it that computers can sort of know what tasting would be like without having?
No, with the help with the chef that say the artificial intelligence say something to unite these ingredients, and the chef testing and then say, okay, this test is good for the cultural. Yeah, and the problem is we can establish it on a taste regular, because for me, I don't know, I don't like the cheese, for example, and how to say this is the normal taste good, and this is the problem that the database, because you have to select the different chef to taste and approve it, or maybe not approve it, these dishes. And yeah, it's
Fascinating. It sounds like what's happening is a bit like how with I've seen AI generated for like most attractive man, most attractive woman. Like obviously the computer is not making those judgments, but all humans who feed into it are making the most judgment. So it's really to feed all of our sort of taste judgment. It's a bit like someone curating the sort of user responses or from a restaurant. Like they're factoring in all of those user inputs. And so the taste of the computer is not as it were from the machine itself, rather from the human users who give their data to it.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Thank you.